Welcome to WebRTC Live. In WebRTC Live, we cover the latest technical topics and business use cases for WebRTC and live video. As always, this episode is brought to you by WebRTC.Ventures, leading integrators of WebRTC video into your custom application.
Welcome back to WebRTC Live. I'm your host, Aaron Pham, founder and CEO of WebRTC.Ventures. WebRTC.Ventures is a custom design and development agency focused on building live video applications, and we're here to help you take your application live. You can learn more about us at WebRTC.Ventures. Thanks for joining us live today on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch, and welcome also to any of you watching a replay of today's event. For those of you with us live, you can ask questions throughout the stream by leaving a comment on whichever platform you're viewing this. For today's episode, I'm joined by Diana Pham, who will be discussing how to use low code for customer engagement with the Vonage AI Studio. Diana Pham is a developer advocate at Vonage, where she helps developers and companies see the potential in communication APIs. She holds an MS in computer science degree from Northeastern University and regularly talks about APIs, DevRel, and oysters. Thanks for joining me today, Diana.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Aaron.
It's great to have you here. Appreciate it. We've had the opportunity to meet before at a couple of conferences, and as you know, and a lot of our viewers and certainly our clients know, we do a lot of work with Vonage at WebRTC.Ventures too. And the AI Studio is something that's definitely interesting to me. So I'm excited to see more of that today from you and learn more about it. But let's start with a quick definition of low-code and no-code platforms. What are they, and what are some of the pros and cons that they offer?
Yeah, so low-code and no-code platforms, they're practically software development platforms that allow users to build and deploy applications with minimal coding or programming knowledge. And the best analogy that I can come up with is making a sandwich. So instead of having to actually grow your own ingredients or killing a pig to make the ham or milking a cow to make the cheese, the low code and no code tools actually have these ingredients made available for you. So you can just add them on top of each other and create your app. So I'd say these platforms often provide a drag and drop interface, and that's exactly what AI Studio is. And so customers or users in this case, they're just able to pick out widgets and components and just assemble them into normal workflows. So you go from arrow to arrow and just connecting them all together, and that's pretty much how you make your app.
Interesting. Yeah, it's for me, this is really interesting to learn more about in recent years and to start to see it entering the communication space as well with tools like this. I mean, I actually, a long time ago, when I first started my career as an electrical engineer, I used to use a tool called LabVIEW that was a low-code, no-code platform for electronics laboratory work. And so used that and then moved into internet software development. So kind of went from a low-code, doing some low-code work initially in my career to then doing very low-level development up to the web. And now here we are, we're seeing more prevalence of low-code and no-code platforms again. But I think something that's interesting to know about low-code, it is this kind of drag and drop type of interface, building blocks like you talked about. And you can do a lot with that, but it's still hard for any low-code platform to do everything that a company might need. So when you ultimately need to integrate with more custom code or external systems that platform doesn't know anything about, tell us a little bit about how that's done.
Yeah, so one of the cons is the technical complexity, and you just have a limited scalability and customizations and functionalities because low-code platforms, they're normally built out with this very particular framework that people could work off of. But the pro to that is having faster development and reducing costs, because in that case you can build apps a lot quicker, and time is money and of the essence. And in that case, it's easier to maintain, and like you mentioned, you used to work in hardware, right? Unless I misheard that.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Yeah, you used to work in hardware, but you're able to use a low-code, no-code tool, and so that just really improves collaboration with other teams. But that I don't want that to like limit people in terms of like what they can and can't do, because we do have the option of including webhooks. And for those who don't know, like webhooks, they're HTTP requests that get triggered by an event. And so in our case, like I'm just thinking, one of the cons that I mentioned was that there are limitations due to like having to work with a very particular framework, but that doesn't mean that you can't include customizations and use third-party services. So webhooks are pretty much the answer to this. And in AI Studio, the webhooks node enables users to send and request data from third-party services.
Okay, so you can leverage a lot of the flexibility and power and sort of pre-built nature of a low-code platform, but you still have that ultimate creativity and implementation flexibility for connecting in with external systems as well through those the webhooks. Awesome. So let's go and switch over to a little demo and have you kind of walk us through a little bit of what the AI Studio looks like.
Yeah, let's do that. If you can give me 1 second, let me share my screen with everyone. So, here we go. So this demo, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So this demo was actually built out by my coworker, Michael Crump. He wrote several blogs on AI Studio, super insightful and helpful. So if you ever need help or just want to follow along, then you can definitely check out his blogs. I just do a quick Google search like Michael Crump, AI Studio, Vonage, and you should find his stuff. So this here is a ChatGPT demo. Here you see widgets. I can definitely zoom in for everyone, but I just want everyone to be able to see like how many widgets you can add and just map out, because on the side here, you have these properties and you can just decide like what little boxes you want to add. So right here, we are going to start with a recorded call. And like I mentioned, it's just drag and drop and arrows to show the workflow. You enter this like collect input, and here at the collect input, you can ask or have the app welcome the user. So in this case, it's like, welcome to Vonage FAQ, please ask your question and we'll try our best to answer. And once that happens, the user, oh, hello, yes, leave without saving. After that, this is the webhook that I mentioned. So here we use ngrok. I ran that up and we just kind of drop that here. If you end up doing this demo, then you'll definitely have to add a /webhook here. And yeah, so that's pretty much how you add the webhook. And then right after, this widget here is called Speak. So if you were to choose to get a call from this Vonage phone number, then you have the option of either like actually talking into your phone and asking the question, or in our case, when I test it out, we're just going to type our question, but that's pretty much what this does here. Okay. And then finally, after you get your answer, it'll end the call. So right now, let me pull this up. We're going to have an inbound call here because we're the ones that are calling into the business. So let's say in this case, like you're calling a restaurant or you're calling some customer service desk. In that case, you'll be the one. So like I mentioned earlier, you have the option of either starting a chat where you can actually just type out your question, or you can start a phone call. And I'm currently in Japan. It is like 1:30 a.m. or so over here. And so it's a little hard for me to do that, especially because I don't have a number that can do that. So let's start this chat. So like I mentioned earlier, somebody dials into our system for an FAQ, right? So then this here will get powered up. And I mentioned that right over here. So at the start of it, you get this welcome to Vonage FAQ message. So you can totally customize this in whatever way you'd like. This is just what Michael did. So I do want to add that with this demo in particular, there's no error handling. So there are a million ways that you can crash this, but for the sake of our demo, I just want to make sure that we see that we have like a working one. So in this case, let's ask, when was Vonage founded? And I really want to demonstrate the multi-intent handling feature to this. It's something that a lot of no code or low code, or in general, like NLP models kind of struggle with being able to answer two-parted questions. So when was Vonage founded, and where is the HQ? And as you can see, goes to webhook, we get this response. So in this case, my speak, or in this case, my type, was asking this question. So the webhook was executed successfully. As you can see, it went through this pipeline here, and then you got your answer. As soon as you get the answer, which is actually correct, Vonage was founded in 2001, and it is headquartered in Holmesdale, New Jersey. I've never been to the headquarters, but maybe one day I will. Yeah, and as soon as that happens, the call has ended. So yeah, that's pretty much a very quick demo of how it all works. Let me know if you have any questions regarding that.
So for those of you watching us live and you're curious about AI Studio, you're welcome to ask any questions on whatever platform that you're in, and I'll share those with Diana. We have a question here from Guillermo. Guillermo asks, is ChatGPT built in, or is it possible to use another AI provider? So yeah, talk a little bit about the ChatGPT feature of this.
So I love that you asked this question, and I really, really want you to stay tuned with. We got some upcoming news this week or next week or very, very soon. But if you would like, follow us on Twitter at Vonage Dev, and we'll have a more thorough answer to that than I could possibly give.
Stay tuned. All right, sounds good. We're under media embargo on this announcement for now, it sounds like. But very cool. Yeah, and I think this is the first time I've seen in a demo like ChatGPT built into the AI Studio. What I've seen in the past too, you can also you build in your own question and answers, you build in your own flow and everything into the tool. So it's pretty versatile what you can do with it from what I've seen. But very cool to see integrating it directly with ChatGPT too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also want to emphasize something you mentioned, but in the way that you're testing it, that you're showing the demo here, you were using that text chat, but it does have natural language understanding from voice if you dialed in over the phone, and that's basically identical behavior, correct?
Yes, yes. So in the same way, if you were to dial it in, I guess now is a good time to talk about like pretty much our training model or how it works in terms of like, the AI portion of it. So the way that it works, or at least like the way that this, the portion where you ask the question, right? In that part, there are two parts. So there's the ASR, which is automated speech recognition, and then there's NLP, which is natural language understanding and processing. So with users who use speech to text, that's where the ASR registers the user input and then transforms, like I said, speech into text. Meanwhile, so after that happens, if you end up doing speech to text, then they'll take that text and it'll be analyzed by the NLP component that will try to classify the input. And then it'll put that input into the correct place of the agent's knowledge base. But in our case, like since I already texted it, it'll just take that directly and it'll be analyzed by the NLP process. And I actually do have a slide if anyone does want just a high-level explanation of how NLP works. I can definitely share that. Oh, hello. I didn't realize I was already sharing. Sorry. Yeah, so these are just like very high-level steps of NLP. So first you have like tokenization. So you change the format of the actual sentence. So grammatically, you would do like capital I am talking about AI Studio, and then there's a period. With tokenization, you kind of remove that and you just make it like the most simplified format possible. For stop words, after that, you try to remove all the stop words, so remove any excessive words that really don't contribute to the sentence. And in this case, it was about. Next, it's stemming. So you change the words to their stem forms. So I am talking becomes like I am talk. Yeah. And then next is lemmatization. So this is where you take words and you change the words into their dictionary form. So I am talking about AI Studio just became IB Talk AI Studio. Yeah. And speech tagging. So this is where you actually like label all the words. And in this case, it just really helps the model understand the syntax behind it. So, you have your pronouns, your aux verbs, your normal verbs, and then you have like this noun. And then lastly, if there are any proper nouns or like name entities, whether it's like my name's Diana or in this case AI Studio, it'll actually label it it'll label it to where the model will understand what AI Studio is in this case, and it's a software entity. So yeah, pretty much that's how it works.
Nice. Thanks, Diana. So when we talk about like customer engagement models and so, think about, describe a use case that I think about where you could apply AI Studio. And it would be something like in a telehealth example, being able to use AI Studio for handling a phone call into the medical practice, maybe getting some initial information from the patient, pre-screening questions with them, or answering basic questions like, when is my appointment? And you could do all of that through AI Studio and through hooks into that healthcare systems database, for example, right?
Yeah,
What about
absolutely.
situations where then you go from that automated agent, that AI agent, and you want to talk to a live agent? So how would, if you want to then do a transition where now the person either on the phone through voice or on the web, maybe using video, wants to speak with a nurse or a doctor at that medical facility, how do you make that transition from the agent to a WebRTC voice or video connection?
Yeah. So I'm assuming you mean like an integration with video.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there currently isn't like a direct integration with video. It's definitely something that I would like love to see the team work on at some point. But because we do have the webhook node, you can use that to make an external API call. So I'm just thinking on the top of my head right now of that kind of approach. So my personal approach would be to create a meeting using our meetings API. You may or may not be familiar with that one, but using that API, you can create a room and then share that meeting link in an AI Studio conversation flow. So after the patient in this case finishes, doing their is it onboarding? What is it called? When like,
Yeah.
they go fill out their information, and once they're at the very, very end where they really can't talk to anyone else or like they can't ask any more questions or continue talking to a bot, then it'll link them over, and then maybe in this case they can hop over to a video. So that's what I have in mind, but definitely something that I would love to see the team like build on.
Yeah. So the work that you're doing kind of with the pre-built nodes in Vonage in the AI Studio for Vonage is all around the natural language processing and that AI agent and the interactions around there. But then using the hooks, you can still bring in more multimodal communication with person, through anything, right? So I can imagine that when I ask to speak to the live agent, it's going to then use a webhook to connect into Vonage messaging, send me a text, an SMS text with the link meeting that we just created that you talked about, and then when I'm that on my phone, now I'm in the browser and I'm using Vonage video and a WebRTC connection there, right? So yeah, there's a good example perhaps of the ways that you've got a lot of power to interact with these agents with AI Studio, but then still the ability to connect into those other more custom applications that we built, as well as the broader suite of the Vonage communication APIs.
Yeah. So I think it's just nice that there's that opportunity for people to not have to have something super precise because we have that AI feature to it. Because I don't know how others feel about, when you were learning machine learning or like Python in general or just coding in general, you learn that like every little use case matters. It's not just like, oh, ask a general question and you can't just ask like, oh, what's the weather? And it'll return it if your original data was to ask what is the weather, and if you were to add a contraction, then your entire program just breaks, right? But in this case, like having the artificial intelligence and like machine learning model feature to it, you're able to do these customizations and like not have to worry about it on your own end, or you don't have to worry about like, making every single possible use case or like variation of a question. So that was like one of my more favorable features to all this.
Right. Yeah, I like it. So, so let's talk a little bit about how you test a low-code application, and because you are doing this manual configuration of the different nodes, and I assume they have to, like if you're using a webhook, you've got to make sure that am I connecting to my testing version of that API or the production version. How do you handle that sort of version control around that and in the different environments that you need to work in?
So there is an editor mode, and you can publish of like how you publish and how to change the previous version. So it's actually built into the studio itself. I don't think that you can actually integrate something directly like, GitHub, but like I had demoed that testing option, I believe there is a way that you can go back into like the logs and see that and just kind of review how things ran. So yeah, that's pretty much like our current testing method.
Yeah. Okay. So you can have different copies of the configuration basically for those environments, right? And be able to manage that. Yeah, do you have any best practices that you would recommend around multimode communications in general, or specifically in a transition between AI Studio and live agents or any other communication model?
Yeah, personally for me, just going through really bad experiences, just calling customer service lines make me realize like what customers are going to value, or at least from a developer perspective, like what features are actually really valuable to users, And so one that really stood out to me is like sometimes I'll be calling, for example, like an airline, and they'll ask you to say like yes or no to things, and they don't even pick up on what you said. And I think that's like one of the most frustrating parts. And so like just as a best practice, I know like this sounds super biased, but the reason why I love like AI Studio is you've like seen how I wish we could do a call, but like you've seen how we can take a sentence that was not fully, I don't even think my sentence was like fully grammatically correct, but they were able to take that in and like give me a proper answer. And it was like a correct answer. And so just making sure that you use like the right tools is a really good start there. And if anyone does want to try out AI Studio, then please let me know. I do have my handle down below right here. If you do want to reach out to me on Twitter, I'd be happy to give you like a promo code if you need extra credits or anything like that to try out Vonage. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, appreciate it. Could we try another little test with the bot there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned earlier, like you don't have to have very like exact wordings in order to get an answered. And so let's pull that up. If you can give me 1 minute. Let me go back to that. Does anyone have a question they might want to ask? And I can run the test.
If we have any other questions, this is definitely the time to ask them. So feel free to just put that in the comment section of any whatever platform you're watching on.
Yeah. So here it is. And I can just refresh this. And then a new session's going to start. So, yeah. Really, you can ask about anything. And if you wanted to do another two-parted question, then it's totally capable of that.
So let's thinking about that like telehealth type of use case again.
Mhm.
How about asking it about where are the nearest COVID testing locations for any zip code, and what time are they open?
Okay. Do you have a zip code in mind?
Let's do 22932. That would be Charlottesville, Virginia, near me.
Okay. Okay. Locations for Tuesday, and what times are they open? So it's doing its thing. I think my number's from the US, so it's taking a minute since I'm in Tokyo. So, oh, oh, interesting. Let me try that again. What about it fails? I'm curious. And it open. Classic, of course, the demo fails once I'm on
live
live
demos,
stream.
yeah.
There we
I-
go. Okay.
All right.
Not sure what happened there, but here we go. So the answer is, those are your options.
Excellent.
Yeah, it gave you a pretty good list. It gave you four options, and they do mention like the times and dates that they're open. So
That's great. Yeah, handled
yeah.
it really well, and I can confirm those are real locations, real places. So
Okay, because I was going to say I
ChatGPT did
cannot
not make it
confirm
up
that these
that
are.
time. That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely did not make it up.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. All right. Well, Diana, I think we're running out of time here, but I want to any other topics that you wanted to cover today, any key takeaways that you want to make sure to leave with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like key takeaways, I do want everyone. So a lot of people are like really weird about. So there are some developers I know who are just really weird about using like low code, no code because I feel like they have to like establish themselves as developers, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think that like low code, no code tools are really useful, just really useful resources for people. A really good example that I've had was in the past where I was working with someone less technical and they had asked me to build out a bot. And because they were less technical, it wouldn't really help them if I were just drop code at them and be like, here's something I built and like now go do whatever you want with it. But walking them through this, I don't know how it was, let me know how I did, but like just walking someone through like a visual what do you call this? Like just like a nice visualization of how a program is working, then that just makes it a lot easier for them to understand. So that's one of the key takeaways that I definitely want to bring light to in case you are a developer who's a bit hesitant about it. But yeah, overall, I'd say that low code, no code tools, they really do help with development speed, and you can rapidly just prototype your app by using them. And it definitely reduces the cost because everything is built in-house. And however you decide to use it, I'm sure it'll help address like future customer needs. And so if you ever do decide that you want to try out any of our Vonage APIs, please tag us on Twitter if you do end up doing it. We're at Vonage Dev. We also have a community Slack channel that you can also find there. And like I mentioned, if you do want extra credit to spend on your projects, then reach out to me. I'm at Diana's Oyster on Twitter.
All right. Free credits. Reach out to Diana. Thank you so much, Diana. Really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through AI Studio and talk more about it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. As always, this video will be available on the WebRTC.Ventures YouTube channel, as well as on our blog at WebRTC.Ventures. Our next episode will be Wednesday, April 12th. April 12th, we're going to have a roundtable discussion on WebRTC then. To find out more about our upcoming episodes, follow us on Twitter at WebRTC.Ventures, on Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, and join our email list at WebRTC.Ventures. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Let's make it live.
Thanks for joining us for WebRTC Live. Visit our website at WebRTC.Ventures to learn more about our custom design and development services, and to learn more about upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live.